in your book that you feel that as a whole, our culture is against us feeling good?
Yes, I uh, this kind of plays back into what we were talking about. Is it, back in the Aboriginals, before civilization, do people feel better than they do now? I don't think culture intentional. I don't think it's this propaganda conspiracy or something like that. But I think it's more like inadvertently, um, our culture really preaches not having that we don't have enough, that there's a problem, and that there is so much lack. Lack is the word that we use a lot in the law of
Mhm.
attraction. And um, yeah, it kind of focuses on the negative as opposed to the positive. And our rational mind, our rational brain, I guess, tends to do that. At least in our culture, we focus on what the problem is and not necessarily the solution. We're more reason based, rational based than we are emotionally based, because saying that if you feel good, that's enough to then solve your problem, it sounds outlandish to a lot of people. But that's what I am generally saying. Again, I'm not dogmatic about it, but I think that culture inadvertently teaches us lack, even though we have more abundance. And as you said, we've got, I mean, look at where we are right now. Like, it's incredible just how much comfort we have. Um, but if you turn on the TV or reading Twitter, you're unlikely to recognize that. They're not talking about that there. They're not like, oh my gosh, everything is so great. I don't need anything right now. I've got running water and food and, it's 70 degrees in this room. I mean, that's just like, it's like, no, something's wrong. We need to fix it. We need to get something new. So yeah, it's just common sense in a way when you look at it like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember, and not so much now, but where I live, we did have food shortages early this year, and I'd go to the supermarket and the shelves were empty. But my first thought was like, oh shit. My first thought was like, man, there is a lot of bullshit in these shelves that are completely useless. I know what we're missing, and I realize I don't want that in my life. I don't need 50 types of yogurts or all, different butters. I'm happy just grabbing what I can from the shelf. Not that I'm not saying we should go back to Soviet style supermarket, but I realize we have an abundance in this country, and other countries do not have that by a long shot.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're talking about just an incredible amount of abundance that we take for granted a lot of the time, or most of the time. Um, yeah, I mean, and it is interesting too. If you look at the law of attraction from that perspective, and then um, it changes, because then it's like, well, I'm not interested necessarily in manifesting a lot of external things then, because I realize I already have most of what I need and maybe even want. Um, and that's a sensibility thing. But I mean, personally, and this is probably because of my Zen background, but I've always been much more into minimalism than having a lot of stuff. And that's actually a really good way to look at of applying some of this law of attraction advice, is appreciating what you have now, recognizing the abundance of what you have now, and then feeling like it's inevitable that what you need is always going to be supplied to you. And in our modern world, we have that luxury. I mean, yeah, like, again, yeah, there's supply chain shortages right now. And it's like you say, it's like you go to the store, it's like, oh, there's only two brands of toilet paper instead of 12. It's like, why the hell do we,
Yeah.
do we
I
have
don't
12?
need 10 brands of half and half. I can
Right.
have
My wife
four.
went to the store the other day and she's like, do you know how many different kinds of fruit juice there are? And I was like, yeah, no, I know. It's just crazy. It's like,
It's all marketing, brainwashing. And like you
right.
said, what's on Twitter, the powers that be, uh, stress sells, negativity sells. They want us
Exactly.
in a state of stress because then we're easy to sell to.
That's it. That's actually my next book I'm working
Mm.
on. I'm going to be talking about that subject some, because it's like, yeah, if you realize that you have what you need, you're much less likely to buy. And you realize how manipulative um, most sales of products are, and it doesn't need to be that way. I'm not saying you shouldn't sell it all, and like, you can sell something ethically, but you can also very easily sell something unethically, and no one's going to bat an eye in this culture because it's just accepted. And that's why there's 75 different fruit juices, in one aisle. It's like, whatever. I mean, listen, if you're a fruit juice freak listening to this show, I apologize, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Agreed. So for your clients, tell us about the work you do, and how you work with your clients. What can they expect, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so when I got into the law of attraction, I was looking for like someone to help me through the process of manifesting, right? I guess, but also just like someone to be like, well, you could try this or try that, and come at it from kind of this counseling or therapeutic point, where I felt like I had a friend in the process. So I try to be that friend, but the way I do that is I just go really deep with the people I work with. I do not work with many people at once. And we just get really, it's just inner work, I mean, I'm all about doing the inner work. I never promise external results for people. I basically say, we're going to change how you feel on the inside. And if we do that, outer results are likely going to follow. But if you change on the inside, you're not going to necessarily care about the outer results you want right now anyway. And the way I do that is some of the stuff that we already mentioned, but also just getting really still and deep with the people I work with, and that it's very individual based, whatever they need. I've never been able to like do group coaching or something like that, because I'm all for people doing that. It's just like, it's one-on-one, I remember there's this Zen teacher I love, Kodo Sawaki. He was a 20th century Zen teacher, and he's like, everybody's pretty decent, pretty good when they're by themselves, it's like, but then we get a lot of people involved, and that's when the trouble starts, and I think when you work, you work with somebody, from like a counseling or healing perspective or coaching perspective, if you're able just to work with them one-on-one, there's almost always a lot of depth that can be brought out.